What's really going on behind the headlines? I just came across a video, and I found it really insightful. It clearly explains the history, political dynamics, and why this relationship is so important, especially during times of tension. It also highlights the role of Israel's prime minister and how he persuaded the United States to join the war with little opposition. It's easy to follow but still makes you think about the bigger picture beyond the news. If you want a clearer understanding of what's happening, particularly the ongoing conflict, watch this video.
We are going to talk about something that is, I think, a little uncomfortable, but very necessary to understand. After repeatedly claiming that he has won, Donald Trump's tone now seems to have changed. Now he appears frustrated that no one is stepping forward to help America. He has started warning others that if you do not help us, then okay, I will deal with you later. And more than that, he is even talking about taking action against the media within his own country, because many American media outlets have exposed what he sees as his defeat, and he is calling that an act of treason. But while you see Trump reacting like this, complaining and struggling, Israel is quietly continuing its work. It does not seem particularly uneasy. While the world's attention is focused on Iran, at the same time, something like a second Gaza is unfolding in Lebanon. Millions of people have been displaced from their homes, and banned chemicals such as white phosphorus are reportedly being used on civilians. Behavior of United States and Israel in this war, you will notice a very sharp contrast. America entered this conflict at Israel's urging, driven by interests like oil and the desire to maintain dominance. But Israel's endgame is not about oil, it is not about occupying Iran, and it is not about promoting American dominance. It has a completely different game going on, and it is playing that game very effectively. For Israel, this is being framed as a religious conflict between Jews and Muslims. And at the center of this conflict lies Jerusalem, which is considered one of the holiest places in the world. You will find many American politicians standing firmly on Israel's side in this context. For example, Trump's close ally, Lindsey Graham, appears almost as if he is working in Israel's interest. For him, Israel's victory seems more important than anything else. This statement was made even before the war began. There are also allegations that he played a significant role in pushing Trump into this conflict, and that he even received strategic influence or alignment from Israel in doing so. And not only that, listen to this statement from the current United States Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, from 2018. During an event in Jerusalem, he said that there is no reason why a temple cannot be rebuilt on the Temple Mount. Now here, he is talking about the Jewish Third Temple, a biblical prophecy that holds deep significance for many Jewish believers. But the place he is referring to is extremely sensitive. The location where the first and second temples once stood is now occupied by Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is considered the third holiest site in Islam. So this is not just about building a temple. This is about religion, identity, and history colliding in one place. Just a week before the joint U.S.-Israel escalation involving Iran, when the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, was asked whether he supports Israel's claim over land stretching from the Nile River to the Euphrates River, he responded that according to the Bible, this land was given to Israel. Now, this statement directly points toward the concept of Greater Israel. But Greater Israel is not just a Zionist fantasy. It is not just an idea or an intention. For many, it is seen as an active project, something that has been developing over time. Under the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu, statements and actions over the years suggest a consistent direction. The attack on Iran, the brutality in Gaza, the ongoing pressure in Lebanon, and the tensions in the West Bank, all of these are seen by critics as examples of this broader project. So if you really want to understand the war involving Iran, you have to understand Israel's motives. You have to understand the long game. What exactly is this idea of Greater Israel? Is it really mentioned in religious texts? What is the Third Temple prophecy? And why could Jerusalem, especially Al-Aqsa Mosque, become the center of a larger conflict between Jews and Muslims? Because once you start looking at it this way, the situation begins to look very different. It is no longer just about geopolitics or military strategy. It becomes something much deeper, something more complex, involving religion, identity, and long-term ideological goals. The concept of Greater Israel was first explored by Theodor Herzl, who is also known as the father of political Zionism. The most expansionist version of this idea can be traced back to a verse in the Bible, specifically in the book of Genesis. According to this verse, God made a covenant with Abraham, stating that his descendants would be given land stretching from the Nile River to the Euphrates River. Now, if you look at this geographically, this area would include regions that today fall under multiple countries across the Middle East. The descendants of Abraham include the Jewish people because the tribes of Israel are believed to descend from Isaac, the son of Abraham. But at the same time, the descendants of Abraham's other son, Ishmael, are also included, who are considered the forefathers of Arab populations. However, most interpretations that support Greater Israel focus on the Jewish claim to this land. And for those who believe in this idea, it is not just a political or expansionist project. For them, it is a divine mandate. It is an attempt to reclaim land that they believe was promised to them. After the current Israeli government came to power in 2022, references to Greater Israel have become more frequent. But one of the most controversial moments came when Benjamin Netanyahu accepted an amulet symbolizing the promised land during an interview in 2025. This triggered strong reactions, and a coalition of 31 Arab and Muslim countries condemned these statements, describing them as a threat to regional stability and global peace. But Israel did not step back. In 2024, a video surfaced showing Israel's finance minister discussing the expansion of Israeli borders, even suggesting that Syria's capital, Damascus, could be included in the future. His reasoning was based on interpretations that Jerusalem's future expansion would extend outward. He also suggested that Israel could potentially expand into parts of Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. Similar ideas had been expressed earlier during a speech in Paris in 2023, where a map was shown that included Jordan within Israel's territory. So now the question becomes, how much of this is already reality and how much is still theoretical? Modern Israel emerged from the British mandate for Palestine in 1948, after World War I and British control over the region. Following the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, Israel gained control over most of the territory except for the West Bank and Gaza. But expansion did not stop there. In 1967, during another conflict, Israel captured additional territories, including the West Bank, Gaza, the Sinai Peninsula, and the Golan Heights. Although the Sinai Peninsula was later returned to Egypt, control over other areas has remained a source of ongoing tension. In recent years, there have been continued operations in regions like Syria and Lebanon, often justified on security or strategic grounds. And during a press conference, Benjamin Netanyahu also linked some of these actions to religious motivations. So, when you look at all of this together, the pattern becomes clearer. The objective is not hidden. Wherever there is an opportunity, expand influence, secure territory, and move closer to a larger strategic vision. And in this entire framework, there was one country that had the capability and the willingness to challenge Israel's expansion directly, and that was Iran. Israel understood that it could not confront Iran alone, so over time, it looked for alignment with leadership in the United States that would support such a move. And eventually, it found that alignment. Today, after facing resistance and challenges, Trump appears to be questioning the outcome, wondering what exactly America has gained from this conflict. And increasingly, there are voices within the United States questioning whether their country is acting independently or being influenced by external strategic interests. But Israel's strategy is not limited to territorial expansion alone. The vision extends further, especially toward Jerusalem, one of the most sensitive and symbolic locations in the world. At the center of Jerusalem lies what is known as the foundation stone, a site believed in Jewish tradition to be the place where creation began. This area is referred to as the Temple Mount. Historically, it is believed that two temples once stood here. The first temple existed from around 1000 BCE to 586 BCE and was built by King Solomon before being destroyed by the Babylonians. The second temple existed from 515 BCE until 70 CE, when it was destroyed by the Romans. Today, this same site is home to the Al-Aqsa complex, including Al-Aqsa Mosque, which holds deep significance in Islam. It is believed to be the place from which the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. Only a portion of the ancient structure remains today, known as the Western Wall, which is considered sacred in Judaism. This is also a place frequently visited by political leaders. Jerusalem has remained a point of tension for decades. For many Muslims, Al-Aqsa represents faith, identity, and history. But for some groups within Israel, this is also the location where a third temple should be built. And according to certain interpretations, that cannot happen unless the current structure is removed and the site is transformed. Because of this sensitivity, the area has been governed under a special arrangement for many years, maintaining its status as an Islamic religious site. However, over time, support for rebuilding a third temple has grown in some religious and political circles. Some interpretations suggest that such a temple can only be built with the arrival of a Messiah who would establish a divine kingdom. And recent political statements have led some observers to believe that efforts are being aligned with that direction. So while one side views this as a matter of prophecy, the question arises, what is the role of the United States in all of this? For some, there is a religious connection. Certain Christian groups believe that supporting Israel is part of fulfilling biblical prophecy, and that the construction of the third temple is linked to future religious events. Others see it from a political perspective. Statements from leaders like Pete Hegseth have suggested strong alignment, and figures like Lindsey Graham have described the conflict in deeply ideological terms. There have also been reports suggesting that some soldiers have worn symbols related to the third temple, and that certain messaging has appeared on military equipment. One of the most significant moments was the targeting of Iran's leadership, including Ali Khamenei, who is not only a political leader, but also a major religious figure for Shia Muslims. Actions like this raise important questions about long-term consequences and the potential for deepening divisions. Because once religion becomes part of a conflict, the dynamics change completely. Conflicts are no longer limited to strategy or territory. They become about identity, belief, and history. And when geopolitical competition and religious narratives begin to overlap, the situation becomes far more complex. The consequences are no longer limited to one region or one generation. They can last for decades, even centuries. Jerusalem, and especially Al-Aqsa Mosque, is not just a piece of land. It is a symbol, a center of faith, identity, and history. And if this conflict truly evolves into a broader religious confrontation, its impact will not just shape the future of the Middle East. It could influence global stability.
If you like this video, please subscribe to Gem242.